Welcome, Lynn. Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes, thank you, Susan. My name's Lynn Kirk. I'm a happiness and simplicity coach. And I came to coaching after quite a journey, I would say. I had 10 years in marketing and product development. And then my career went into education, which was really data and leadership. And that was for another 10 years. And at that point, my career took quite a change. And I decided to leave that kind of world completely and retrain to become a professional organizer. So I went off to New York to train with Marie Kondo and learn how to coach people to organize their space, transform their space. And very, very quickly, it became apparent that the real transformation was not in the physical space, but in their mindset, in their habits, in the mental side of their lives, really. And that led me to do a diploma in transformative coaching and ultimately led me to the ICF. So now I coach people using all of that experience in terms of simplifying life, slowing down, being more human, thinking about the habits that serve us in living a happy life, really. So that's kind of led me to where I am today.
Fabulous. I love that the thread of transformation, not only in, data and the marketing in your organizations, but then to people's personal home space and now to people themselves. So it's yeah, fabulous.
Mhm.
Um, so thank you for joining me for this fireside chat. I'm really looking forward to exploring some of the themes that we've talked about. And so the first one is if you could share a meaningful moment where you've observed human connection, AI, and coaching coming together.
Yes, I think a particularly meaningful moment for me was working with a client recently who'd come to me feeling very overwhelmed. And it very quickly became apparent that there was a bigger issue at play. And their main concern was their child who had special educational needs, and the desperate need to get them some support. And that is something that is notoriously difficult to do. And the process is very complicated and difficult to navigate. So we spent some time in the traditional coaching space, exploring what was happening, fully understanding the issues, really connecting and surfacing what was going on, and working out what the priorities and the next steps needed to be. And at that point, that's where AI came into the conversation because of the complexity of the process and the fact that it's not that transparent. We talked about bringing AI in to help us. And the coaching continued almost into a second phase where AI was in the space with us, helping us to firstly understand the process that the client would need to go through, to really organize the information that we'd surfaced in the coaching conversation, align that with what was actually required in terms of the process. And I'm talking about getting an educational healthcare plan assessment for a child. And there's certain ways to do that that aren't always that easy to understand and that vary very much by local authority. And then to check the robustness in terms of, was the information complete? Was it correct in terms of just the basic things like checking grammar and just giving the client the confidence that they'd represented themselves in the best way. So we then used AI to get us to the point of submitting the application. Everything we put into it was anonymized. It was led by the client. AI wasn't making the decisions, the client was making the decisions. But what AI gave the client was agency that they didn't have themselves in terms of understanding the process and how to structure the information that they were going to need. So it was really powerful in terms of a two-part process and quite unexpected in terms of where it went. But the client came to the coaching space. That was the very traditional space, and that's how we used it. AI came into the conversation to give the client greater access and agency to sort of positive action, really.
Mm. I mean, you could make a practice just from that type of situation, because I know I observed my own sister going through very similar things in the UK with the support of her children, and she didn't think about reaching out for a coach. So kudos to your client for recognizing the value in having a coach to help through that navigation of the complexity, because it is really difficult. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then as we experiment and learn with AI, because as you've described, AI could come in the room, you invite it if your client feels it's appropriate. But how do we ensure that the principles that we're using keep AI human-centered, ethical, and inclusive?
I think for me, this is quite a natural thing because I keep parts of my practice very low tech on purpose. And I work with a lot of people who feel overwhelmed. They are already stressed by things in everyday life. They're finding things overcomplicated. And I try always to retain that human side of coaching. And that's really, really important to me to ensure that they have my presence, that they can actually make contact with somebody as quickly as possible when they decide they want coaching, that there aren't lots of technical steps to go through. And I find this is really valuable to that kind of client who already feel like they're living a little bit of a double life where they're just holding things together, but then need the support behind the scenes. So yeah, I think I keep myself very, very centered in that, and I don't overwhelm the client with technical things with AI. And having worked one-to-one with a lot of people who really just need somebody to be with them, to hold space for them, to share in whatever it is that they're going through and their own transformative journey. There are times that there's nothing else needed in that space, and I think that's important to protect. What I do feel works for me is to use AI to support me, to help me to learn and grow, to help me to simplify processes, to help me to create ideas, to help me to understand what my client's experience might be like. Even if you're not using AI within your coaching practice, your clients are probably going to be using AI in lots of different areas of their life. So I find it a very helpful for my own growth and development. What I am very strict about personally is I don't want to spend my whole life online, and I want to be very present in my own life, and it's almost my personal values that are guiding me, and that will be different for everybody, but presence in my own life and with my clients is very, very important. So yeah, I think the way that coaches work as well, we are a little bit like a super form of AI in the way that we gather information, we synthesize it, we make sense of it, we help people to make sense of it. And I just think that it's kind of staying at that very human side that's so important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there, the word came to mind, authenticity. And then I was thinking that the way that you've described how you wanted to, invite AI into your practice is personal to you. So it has to be authentic with how you want to show up in your life and for your clients. And figuring that out, I think, is something that coaches, as they think about AI and the fact that it's emerging in our lives and work, it's what kind of practice do they, who are they, what's their purpose, and then what's practice that they've developed, and how might they want to retain that as they may use AI for administrative or kind of peripheral things.
Yeah, and I think it's always checking in. It's like, how is this benefiting me, my client, my business, my life? And if it's not serving a positive purpose at that that time, then it needs to come in at another moment. And it just happened with the first client that I was talking about, that it did support moving that client forward. So that's why it came in. But I don't operate a heavily technical process anywhere. I just see the benefits as and when they appear, really.
Very good. And then if you could imagine one shift to positively shape the next chapter of coaching, what would it be?
I think this is very much about curiosity and really embracing the hive mind. So I probably have spent much of 2025 immersing myself in lots of different things. AI, it's been a huge year of growth and development for me in terms of AI, playing with it, speaking to people, connecting with people, just expanding my knowledge and experience of it. And I found that hugely beneficial. And I would like to think that other people could do that too and enjoy the process. I mean, I found it really interesting and thoroughly enjoyed doing it. And it gives me ideas to improve my practice all the time and better serve clients. And I think as coaches, we're naturally very curious. So lean into that curiosity and you know, we ask great questions of AI, and you know, you're only ever limited by your own imagination. So just really, really lean into that curiosity and creativity. And then when I talk about the hive mind, you know, we're in a wonderful community of coaches, and there's so much that we can do to really make this sort of an area that supports everybody. And I think what's really interesting about AI is suddenly it's a great leveler, because the least experienced coach in the room could actually be the most experienced person in AI. And it gets rid of all the hierarchies, it gets rid of all the structures. You don't have to be an academic, a tech leader, a highly experienced coach to know so much about this and to be able to have a really positive influence on the community. So I think like really embracing all the knowledge that everybody within the community has got and finding ways to make it really, really accessible. So plug and play sessions with it, change the nature of conferences even, where we have information coming from all different sources, and you know, really sharing this information, making it free to use, you know, easy to access, buddying with people and learning about practical uses of AI. Yeah, I just think there's definitely something about getting involved, getting stuck in, playing, creating, and sharing as generously as you possibly can, because it will benefit everybody.
Yes. And as you were describing that, I was imagining like all of that collaboration going on, all those different skill sets, diversity of views, etc. But it's the coach or when you're in that space, it's holding space for the human. So what in all of this, like you described earlier on, where is the value in everything that we're seeing to serve humans, to serve humanity, if you like? Because that isn't going to be held by AI, so the only people that can do that are the people.
Yeah, and the most meaningful thing, I think, in all our exploration of AI is the connections that we make with other humans. And that's immensely valuable. And to learn from a human it probably embeds far deeper than learning from a machine. So yeah, I think that's just an added benefit of all of this, to really deeply connect with other people and enjoy that interaction that you can have with other humans.
And then if you look on the horizon, what changes about coaching and what stays the same?
Yeah, I think if I flip that the other way around, coaching stays the same in that it supports people in moving forward, in transforming, in holding that very human space that can really guide them forward in their lives like nothing else. You know, coaching as a practice remains the same. AI is just like new technology. You know, it's like any other kind of technology, just supercharged. What I think changes is just the knowledge that things are going to change, whether we like it or not. And it's here. AI is here. And we have to find our way of being really comfortable with it and using it, like I said before, to benefit us. And I think even the people who are thought leaders on this, things may play out in very different ways. You know, there's kind of bigger forces at play in this. It's getting comfortable with ambiguity, with uncertainty, and embracing this as a possibility for positive change in the way that we run our businesses, the way that we interact with our clients. And yeah, I think certain elements of coaching will remain the same and will actually become more valuable. That human connection will be more valuable in future. The more AI is kind of involved in lots of different areas of our life, human connection will be the premium. Yeah, I think the other thing's just going back to what will change. There'll be less barriers to coaching. Coaching will become more accessible to people. It will benefit more people. But that lived experience and the human connection will have greater value.
Yeah, definitely. And as we close our fireside chat, is there anything else that you would like to share?
I think I would just reiterate that there's so much to be gained from playing with this and enjoying it and finding a purpose for it. I think play's great and I've really loved that side of things, but the minute you hit on your purpose with this, that there's incredible value in it. But yeah, enjoy the play, enjoy the curiosity and creativity around it. And yeah, I'll just reiterate that point. You are only limited by your own imagination. So just enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Lynn, for joining us today and sharing your insights. They've been incredibly valuable. So thank you and enjoy the winter season.
Thank you for having
By
me.
your fireside. Yeah.